Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining. We'll get started here just in a couple minutes as more people pop in, probably in about 1 or 2 minutes. Thanks. All right. Hi, everybody. Ready to get started here. So thank you. Thank you for joining our product webinar today. I am Ryan. I lead our product team here at Sift. I know I've met many of you in the past, but for those I haven't, it's nice to meet you. I'm very excited today to sort of tell you about, especially what we're working on this year, as well as giving you a recap of last quarter and what we've been working on. So we'll go ahead and get started. We welcome any questions and answers in the chat for the entire duration of the presentation. If you have any sort of short questions about something specific that I'm talking about, I'll certainly try to answer short questions right away. But if it's something that requires a little bit more thought and attention, I'll wait until the end for the Q&A section. We're also going to have, again, like we've done in the past, a few poll questions throughout the presentation, and please answer them if you have any thoughts at all. It really does help us sort of decide what to build next and understand more what our users want. And as always, you'll receive a recording of this presentation within 36 hours of the event. Yeah, so today we'll be going over what we've been up to in Q4, and then sort of what's coming next in Q1, Q2, and sort of the year ahead as a whole. And then, as always, at the end, we'll sort of give you a recap of some ways that you can get involved in the product process and help us out in those decisions. So for Q4, a couple of things that we've been up to. So overall in 2023, I would say it was a big year full of getting our sort of data integration, data sync process sort of up to snuff and making it a lot easier for people to use. So we sort of put the final touches on that in Q4. Now, when you upload a CSV file, you'll get real-time errors and warnings, sort of indicating what's sort of wrong with your file, things that you need to correct. Where in the past you would sort of run a data sync and it would just give you an error message and you really wouldn't know what happened. We've now worked to give you sort of more real-time feedback for any sync issues that may occur. And now that we've tackled a lot of that this year, we're really trying to get back to our end user experience, which I'm sure a lot of you will be excited about seeing. So our org charter directory, our search, all that good stuff. But in the meantime, I guess just wrapping up on the sort of data sync angle, are there any additional systems that you'd like to see directly integrated with Sift? So we've heard from people things like Okta for just sort of additional identity management stuff. We've heard things like HR systems for skills. Is there anything else that you would like to see integrated from your internal systems into Sift, sort of beyond the traditional sort of CSV experience and Azure and Google and all of the stuff that we have currently? So if you could answer that question, we would appreciate it. And if nobody says anything, I'll take that as everything is completely perfect and we can't do any wrong. No, wonder why. All right, I'll move on then. If nobody has any thoughts on that one. Great. Another thing we worked on Q4 is we did a lot of work on our product strategy, product roadmap. So we conducted a sort of company-wide offsite to talk about our org chart, which is going to be a big topic later in this presentation, and what really we should be working on next in terms of that part of our product. We also sort of went over like which quick hit improvements to our product would make the most impact quickly for our customers. So that's another thing that we did. So we really tried to focus on just getting that stuff together and bringing more stuff like bringing more things like this to all of you and being able to be more organized there. We also did some sort of under the hood updates on our mobile app. If any of you use our mobile app, you may have noticed that it hasn't been sort of updated in a big way in quite some time. And like a lot of that was because of just a lot of tech debt that was put into that. So we did put a lot of work into making those updates over the last quarter. And now we're in a much better spot to continue to work on that. So keep an eye out for some mobile app updates this year. And the last thing that we worked on, which is sort of also just more of a business strategic thing, is we started sort of aligning with Okta as a partner. So we worked to get into their direct marketplace as a single sign-on SAML app, and we also sort of investigated their sort of easy OAuth API integration, just like we do with Azure and Google. And we're going to be working on bringing a more easy one-click integration to Okta. And as a reminder, I know I've talked to some people before. We do have a way to directly integrate with Okta, so if you're interested in that, you can always reach out. And I'm getting a note from Aaron that somebody did say hiring platforms and job positions to that first question. We appreciate that. And that's also going to go along with one of our org chart features that we're working on for open roles, so that maybe that'll be sort of a good tie in there. So appreciate that feedback. Yeah, and that's sort of it for Q4. So now the part that I'm really excited about letting y'all know what we're going to be working on coming up here. So I sort of lied. We did bring one sort of more. This has already been released earlier this quarter, so we did bring some more like small quality of life updates to our data sync. So one sort of small thing that a lot of people have requested is the ability to do group filtering with our Google Workspace sync. And we recently added that ability. And we also brought the ability to use demo data right into our admin dashboard. So if any of you signed up via our free trial, we used to sort of ask people at the beginning of our experience, would you like to use demo data or use your own data to try out Sift? And we found that like adding it into the product itself would allow people even past the initial trial phase to just sort of like play around with some data if you're not released yet and things like that. So you're now able to sort of use demo data as a source type. Now on to the org chart things that we're working on. So the first one that we are building, which is slated to be released near the end of this quarter, is dotted line relationships. So this is the ability to sort of define informal managers, direct reports, and teammates in the Sift profile and the org chart. So this functionality is something we've heard a lot from a lot of our customers and prospects. So saying sort of people have like two different managers, or people have a manager on a project who's not their official manager in the org chart, but they still want to be able to see those things on the org chart anyway. So with this feature, we're bringing the ability to add sort of those informal teammates and informal managers and informal reports. We're going to let you do this either from an administrative level if you have the official data. So say that you actually have this information inside of a spreadsheet somewhere, or inside of like one of your HR system, or inside anything. We'll let you sort of import it that way. But also, if you prefer like a more free-form experience, we will let like individual end users add dotted line relationships to themselves. So one thing about our current org chart is that even though it's like very nice to view and look at, it's kind of rigid in the way that you can edit it within our platform. But with dotted line relationships, we're making that a little bit more flexible. So since the relationships themselves are usually informal, it would make sense for Sift to be a place where people could actually edit those things. And we're going to have those viewable in a variety of different places. They'll be available on the profile page, on the org chart itself, like through the profile cards, and you'll be able to sort of look at this sort of diagram on the top left here to just sort of see sort of how people relate to each other in a more informal way. So that's dotted line relationships. The next thing is open roles. So another thing we've heard quite often is being able to represent roles that are currently open within your organization. So a couple of the use cases we've heard are like from the more company-wide perspective, I want to be able to like show everybody in my organization like which open roles exist in case they want to apply to them. Or like maybe in your system of record, we've seen it before as well, where people have sort of their HR system like exports a bunch of positions and like people are optionally tied into those positions rather than like all of the positions always being filled. So like sometimes when our system constrains, hey, you must have like a person in every single role in order for the org chart to connect properly. That doesn't always work with what people are looking for. Um, Another thing this kind of allows us to do along with this feature, we're going to be building the ability out for um, people to export the org charts where it would only show positions and not show necessarily like names and photos. That's another sort of small feature that a lot of people have requested where they're saying, hey, like we're required to provide a snapshot of our organization to an external party once a quarter, but we don't want to show people on that. We just want to show positions. So along with this functionality, we'd also give the ability for people to hide sort of that identifiable information on the org chart cards and export it. And then additionally to the org chart, the sort of picture in the background that you see here is we're thinking about ways of integrating Sift pages into open roles as well. So still thinking about, and if anybody has any opinions on this, we'd love to know. You can always reach out to me at ryan@justsift.com or support@justsift.com. Trying to bring Sift pages into it, but also trying not to like step on the toes of like an ATS or like something along those lines. So we want to give people the ability to learn more about all of the open roles within the Sift platform, but we're also trying not to like replicate work that another system would do. So either way, it would be optional, but we're really exploring that as an additional piece of functionality there. And we have our second poll question here. Which of these two new org chart features are you most excited for? Would it be dotted line relationships or open roles? I will take a look at the chat as well. I got a couple of questions. There's the questions area and the chat area. I was looking at the chat area by accident. Sorry, everybody. Is there a way to not allow teammates to edit their dotted line relationships? Yes. So as part of the feature, we'll sort of have a toggle in the admin dashboard, sort of similar to a lot of our other functionality, where you can make it so like only administrators of the platform can edit dotted line relationships and not the users themselves. Then Okta is a sort of user identity platform. It's similar to like sort of Azure Active. It's not exactly the same thing, but it's just another way of just like integrating like a primary people data source for people to bring data in. Sounds like we have a pretty. It looks like we have a pretty even split here. That's between open roles and dotted line relationships. One more for open roles, but it's good to know that people are excited for both of these things. Awesome. Last thing to sort of bring up is org chart editing in Lucidchart. So, um, as I was sort of saying a minute ago, we've seen people always want to edit their org chart within Sift, and that's never been what we're focused on. So we really want to give, even if your company is sort of utilizing Sift for its primary built purpose of like give everybody in your organization transparency around your company, let people know one another, let people view the org chart in its current state. We do want to give people the option of utilizing Sift data to do org planning or to do org chart building. So we've been in conversations with Lucid to sort of develop a very like quick integration where we can export the data out of Sift and bring it into Lucidchart for editing. This is already actually possible, kind of, if you like know how to do it. Essentially, you can sort of export the data out of Sift like via a flat file, import it into Lucid, and it's very easy to do. But we're looking into productizing this a little bit more, so it's just more of a click of the button, just go to Lucid and immediately start editing your org chart. And we're still sort of always investigating different ways of accomplishing like secondary like org planning needs. But yeah, it's just a lot because I mean our system was just not built to be an org chart editor. So we just figured that partnering with somebody like Lucid could be a very wise decision here. So this is going to be coming soon as well. And then after these few features on the org chart, like I said, last quarter we spent some time as a team sort of deep diving in what should be next for our org chart. And these two things were kind of what we came up with to work on first. However, there's a lot of different things we also considered. So one is sort of improved exporting and printing. So we hear this all the time. It's like, hey, like I want to be able to export my org chart like department by department on like a PowerPoint slide for each department, or I want to export only this part of it, or when I export it and it's really big, it doesn't seem to perform very well, or can I split it into multiple pages? So kind of focusing on all those problems would be the improved exporting and printing. Embeddable view in external systems. So this would be something along the lines of you have an intranet platform that your people use, such as SharePoint or something custom, and you want to be able to view the Sift org chart right within that system and never have your employees leave that system. We hear this one on and off like sometimes, but that's would essentially be like the point there, and that could even extend beyond the org chart itself. It could extend to our entire platform. And then third is additional card customization. So uh, making the org chart cards themselves just more flexible to be able to add more data or to customize the data on them. One thing we hear a lot is like, hey, we have like some special employee number that we would like to show on the org chart card, or we have this one little thing that we want to show on the org chart card. And even though we don't want our cards to get like giant and huge and show like a bunch of information on them, we would certainly be open to allowing the information on them to be a lot more flexible. um, so yeah, we're going to ask another poll question here that sort of will have you rank these three things, and it'll also have an option where there's an other, so you can write it in chat. So if there's something else that you feel super passionate about, please feel free to throw it in the chat. Good question, Don. No, so Don asked, with these enhancements like dotted line relationships, will this impact our existing interface and necessitate a format change, even if we don't plan to import dotted line relationships? So no, I think we do a pretty good job in general of like allowing things to be like turned on and off in our platform. There's some exceptions to that, but this would be like anything else. Like if you didn't want dotted line relationships to exist at all, there would be a control on the admin dashboard that's like, turn them off. I want them to not exist whatsoever, and then they would just be out of sight, out of mind, for everyone. Love to show icons on cards for President's Club awards. Yeah, awards is another thing we've been looking into a little bit more. As well. Thanks for that. Thanks for that comment. Because there are sort of like ways in a roundabout way to do that on the Sift profile right now, which we could definitely go to. But just making awards like more of a thing is another thing we've heard from a lot of people before. All right. Would love to see content and short field attributes on user pages be searchable. Um, if you're talking about sort of the long text attributes like somebody's bio, those are not searchable by default, but if you reach out to us, we can actually do something special on your site to make them searchable. Things like short fields, like if it's like a person's department or their like name or their job title, like if it's just the short piece of text, those should be searchable. And if they're not, please reach out to our support team, but we should be able to make that work for you. Gotcha. Yeah, please do. Yeah, I mean, the reason they're not by default is kind of like people put like a lot of like stop words and random words in bios. So in bios, like it's like a trade-off, right? Because you'll get um some inaccurate things, but yeah, we can make them searchable if desired. All right, great. Let me take a look at these results. Got it. Yeah. So our top result here was the improved exporting and printing, followed by the embeddable view in external systems. It's good to know that people want that one as well. The additional card comp and then the additional card customization. Appreciate that. Okay. Got it. Other roadmap items. So these are some things that we had mentioned on the last webinar. We still are working on these things. The on the homepage that we showed in the last webinar. So this was if y'all if I'm sure some of you weren't here on the last one, but this is sort of the idea of rethinking the homepage for Sift. Where currently it's just a giant search bar and you type something in and you get search results immediately. But bringing more like sort of like a customizable widget system to just sort of make it more real time. So you'd see more things on your homepage than just a search bar. This is something we're still working on. And then more on like the boring like operational side, we're also still working towards having self-service payments. So if you would like to pay by credit card, and especially for our smaller, newer customers who don't need to go through a lengthy contract process, that's something we're also working on as well. Cool. I was just gonna skip that question. Yeah, I mean that's mostly it. So what I would say is to keep an eye out on in this quarter is that dotted line relationship thing should definitely be available soon, and we'll keep you all posted on that. We do have a mailing list. I think it's very similar to the one that goes out to the attendees of this webinar that we sort of let people know when new features are released. So we'll be sure to let you know. The open roles are going to be coming sometime in Q2, although it's maybe even early mid Q2. It depends on timing, but that's what we've been doing. And then for the open roles as well, if anybody has any sort of requirements for that you would like to share with us, like please feel free to let us know. Like while the dotted line relationships are more in like a final design development phase, the open roles are still like a little bit in the planning phase. So if there's anything you want to make sure that is included there or any feedback you want to give, please feel free to reach out. Speaking of that, how to get involved. We do have a product feedback board at feedback.justsift.com that you can always use to leave different product ideas. Aaron's linking it in the chat right now. There is a lot in there, so it does take us sometimes a little bit to get back, but we do look at all of those things. And if you ever have any questions for me personally, please feel free to reach out to me at ryan@justsift.com. And if you have a support question, you can reach out to our support team with our leader Tim at support@justsift.com. And then follow us on social media on LinkedIn. We're always trying to get more eyes on our product and get it out to as many people as we can. So appreciate it. Yeah, and then also for reviews, we really pride ourselves on our G2 presence. It's one of the places that we really value people's feedback. So if you like Sift or you don't like Sift or you just want to leave us your thoughts, like please leave us a review on G2. It really helps us out. And that is my presentation. I'd love to take any questions that anybody has or any comments. And Aaron, our head of marketing, left links to all of those things in the chat. All right, I'll give it 3 or 4 minutes. Call it a day. All right, any questions? Okay, great. Yeah, so as I said, we'll have a recording ready for everybody here in the next 48 hours or so. And if you ever have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Thank you so much for joining. I always love talking to everybody on these things. So appreciate it. Have a great day.